Welcome, everyone, to Northwest Digital News and this special broadcast here on the program. We're talking to Joel McEntire, who's running for the 19th District here in Washington, Seat 2. Welcome to the show, Joel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So just for the benefit of our listening audience, you see seated left to right, Joel McEntire, Kevin Hunter, Kyle Torgerson, making all the tech stuff happen here on the show. So if you would, Joel, kick this off by sharing a little bit with our viewing audience who you are, where you come from, why you're running for the 19th seat.
Absolutely. So Joel McEntire, I live in Cathlaque. I teach science at the middle school there, John C. Thomas Middle School. I've been teaching there. This is my third year now. I'm also a reservist in the Marine Corps. I'll be picking up the rank of staff sergeant in a couple of weeks.
And you just came off a deployment.
Yeah, I did. Some people are saying, Joel, where have you been? Where are you at? I see your signs. I know you're running, but I don't see you. What's going on? What's the deal? And I do have an excuse.
You were deployed.
I was, yeah. When I decided to run, fortune somehow favored or not, I got a letter from the military, the United States Marine Corps, that I was going to be deployed to Kuwait. This was just after I announced. And so a lot of people had given me support and had said that they're excited to vote for me. And I felt like I couldn't give up, that I couldn't withdraw and say, well, I'm getting deployed and it's not going to work out, because it was a short-term deployment. So I knew I would be back before the general election. Another challenger jumped in, and so it was also a matter of winning the primary. From Kuwait, I did campaign the best I could. I did webcam interviews, Skype interviews. I did candidate questionnaires. I called people, wrote letters, did everything I could, and I was able to make it through the primary, luckily enough. And so I feel like if I was able to do that there, now that I'm back, and I got back a month ago, and so I've been tirelessly visiting all the communities, going to all these meetings, talking to people about my candidacy for this spot. If I could do that there, I tell people, imagine what I can do now that I'm here, actually in the flesh, where I can go out and actually meet in person with people. And so it's been a completely different experience going to meetings and actually shaking people's hands, where before I was just looking at them through a screen. Now,
kissing hands and shaking babies.
Exactly. The American way of doing politics. So
we have your community hometown here in the background, Cathlaque. Before you share a little bit about Cathlaque in this community, how'd you like Kuwait compared to home?
Well, there's no real reason why humans should be in Kuwait, or any living thing for that matter. There's no rain. There's dust storms. The dust you can't escape it. It's everywhere. It's just, it's in between your teeth. It's in your ears and your hair, and you can't escape it. And you shower and you go outside and it's dust again. And so it's just, nothing against the people who call that home, but it's just not a place where I envision raising my family. And the thing is, it's it's a shock to be there and see how lifeless and desolate it is. And the only reason humans are there is for what's underground. The oil, that's the only reason people are there. And when you come back here and you realize we have opportunities, so many opportunities, just the fact that things are green around us, that things grow spontaneously. There's grass and trees, and that we have fresh water, available to us. Where they have to distill it from ocean water and ship it in by truck. It's, we're so fortunate for the things we have right here in the 19th District. Not just in the United States, but our district we have a lot to preserve and a lot to be proud of.
So not to digress too much into that, but I'm curious, what were the temperatures like there?
So the hottest I got to experience was, I think, 124 midday. And so the thing about the nighttime there is, people think, what I was taught when I was a kid is, deserts get very cold at nighttime. Well, not that desert. It gets down to 110 at night. That's at 4 a.m. before the sun comes up again. It might be 98, 99 degrees. And then the sun comes up and it cooks right back up to 120. And then the sun goes down and then it drops slowly throughout the night. The rocks are hot. You can go and pick up a rock at 3 a.m, put it on your face, and it feels like it came out of an oven. Everything's hot. The sand is hot. The air, there's nothing that's cool. There's no way to get away from it. There's it's everywhere, and so it's a strange place. But it was a dry heat, which was, in my opinion, more comfortable than a humid heat. So I had that going for me.
All right, so share with people about your hometown, Cathlaque, here we're seeing in the background.
Yeah, so I not only live there right now, I was actually raised in Cathlaque, and if you can see that picture, it's just a beautiful little scenic place. Cathlaque's the biggest population center in Wahkiakum County. It's a very small county, not just geographically, but population-wise. It might be the smallest population-wise in the state. And I mean, that's the town that you see on the hill right there. There's the town and the bridge that takes you over to Puget Island. It's historically a farming island. People would raise cattle and hay and things there. And Oregon, you can see across the Columbia River. So you see some river water there. That takes you to Puget Island, and then across the island, there's more river water, and then Oregon. And the little marina down there, you can't see it because our bodies are in the way, but there's a little marina down there with boats and stuff. And it's just almost like a postcard that you can make out of our town. And, we don't have a stoplight or a fast food restaurant there. It's just a quaint little place, and it's special. Some people want it to become this bustling place. Like some people want to they say someday we need to have a factory right here, and other people, a factory, you're going to ruin our little town. And so I can understand both sides. You want the place to grow, you want income and revenues to go up. You also want to preserve the quietness that is Cathlaque, and so it's not a bad place to live.
Very good. So let's talk about some of the key issues that are happening out there on the campaign trail and some of the discussions around the state. I want to go first to the capital gains tax. There's been a fair amount of discussion here, and I have an article in front of me here that's actually talks about Chris Rakedahl. This is published by the Seattle Times, and he's pushing for this capital gains tax. And interestingly enough, one of the components of this is he said that it would also help reduce property tax. But interestingly enough, the counties that would see a property tax reduction here, just as an example, average homeowner in King, Pierce, and Snohomish counties. Now, these are some of the biggest counties in the state. Yeah,
King, Pierce, and Snohomish. I didn't hear Cowlitz.
Yes,
in there.
They would shave off $1,500 in property taxes for those counties. What's your thoughts on this capital gains tax?
There are two schools of thought when people work in government on how to fix problems. And one of those schools of thought is if we just had more money. And I don't belong to that group. If we just had more money, could help some things, could help a lot of things, but it doesn't fix all of our problems. Most of our problems come from bad leadership and mismanagement. We have plenty of revenue at the state level to do the state functions that we say we're going to do and that our Constitution mandates. But then they want more money. And this is not true with just our government. This is every government, local, federal, across the planet, throughout our nation. Everyone in government is seeing, is there a way we can get a little more revenue? And a capital gains tax is just another way to do that. Money is either in the private sector with people who create wealth, or it's in the public sector where it has been taken from the private sector. The public sector doesn't create wealth. They don't make wealth. They get it. They draw it from somebody else. It from somebody else. It's like Margaret Thatcher once said, the problem with socialism is that you're going to run out of someone else's money eventually. Not to say that all government programs are some socialist, bad, evil thing. I'm just saying that when you have a system that relies on drawing from another living organism, another system, that system pays the penalty. It renders the costs. And so the businesses that are going to be affected and the homes that will be affected and the individuals that will be affected by a capital gains tax, I don't believe are worth the end goal of putting a few extra dollars in bureaucratic hands. I don't believe that. That's not to say that an increase in taxes at some point in history, or maybe even today, couldn't fix or help alleviate some problems. It has to be that we first look to what we're already doing. Are we running our government efficiently? I would say that we're not. Do we need every program that we have with all the employees that we have? Maybe we don't. Someone needs to be tough and objective and look into it and make hard choices about how our government is being run first. And then if it's determined that tax levels and taxes need to be looked at, then we'll go there. But the knee-jerk reaction for so many people is, well, if we just had more money, if we just up taxes, we'd have free healthcare for everyone. We'd have free housing for everyone. Everyone would get a living wage. Everyone would get free education and free healthcare and free all this. It doesn't work like that. Economics already has the books on it. It can't work like that. Countries are collapsing and have collapsed because of this idea. So I'm opposed to it, and as long as it's in the talking stages, let them talk. But once it starts getting proposed on the floor, it needs to be fought against hard.
So question, you're obviously teaching and working in schools right now, and this whole idea of this capital gains thing is, apparently to benefit schools and benefit education. As somebody who works on the inside in a school right now, do you think that the schools are underfunded and need revenue to do some of the things that he's talking about here?
They are, but if we got an extra $1, do you think it's going to go to me? Do you think it's going to go to teachers? No, they'll hire someone else in the office. They'll hire another administrative personnel. That's what they'll hire. It's not going to go. We need bus drivers, and we need more teachers and teachers' assistants and reading help and math workshop helpers. Like, when we get money for education, if you see how much goes to teachers and how much goes to other things and other programs and sports are nice, but that's not what schools are for. Schools weren't made for sports, and yet so much money is getting diverted to all these other things. And so, yeah, you want to help out me, you want to help out teachers, start focusing on teachers and what we need. I could tell you, I'm in the trenches, and it is not easy. It is a very hard job, but I'm a professional. That's the thing, is people say, well, oh, you're just a teacher. I'm not just a teacher. I'm a professional teacher. I could teach anywhere. I've taught at Central Washington University as a professor's assistant in the chemistry department. I've taught adults. When I was in Kuwait, I taught college level mathematics. There, I have a master's in mathematics education, so I can teach anybody. I choose to take the hardest and teach middle school science, the hardest bracket that there is, because I see myself as a professional. I hold myself to the highest standards at all times. I never take a day off. If I'm sick as a dog, I'll roll out of bed and I'll crawl to school. and one time I lost my voice. I couldn't talk, and so I turned on the projector and I typed my directions to the students on the projector up on the wall. Get out a piece of paper, get out a pencil, work on pages, this and that. I couldn't talk. My voice just wouldn't produce. And so I am as fierce a fighter in education as I possibly can be. And I can tell you, if someone's like, what we need is a capital gains tax to help education, I know you're full of crap. I know you don't have my best interests at heart. No bureaucrat ever comes into my classroom and asks me what they can do to help me out. They talk from an exalted throne. Well, I'm for teachers. If you were for teachers, you'd be in here helping me teach a quadratic formula to a kid whose parents are getting divorced. Try and do that. Try and teach participles to a kid who hasn't eaten in 24 hours. Now, that's the challenge. That's what we need to be looking at. It's down at the low level. But these people in their high and mighty office places, what we need is this. And I know that it comes from a place of dishonesty, excuse me, because nobody ever comes in my classroom and offers this kind of help. What can I do to help you? No one comes and talks to me. So I ranted, but that's how I feel about it.
So let's talk about some of the initiatives. I-1639. This is, and just for the benefit of our viewers, I'll read this. In fact, Kyle, if you want to click on the link that's up there, click on it directly on Initiative 1639 right there, and put that language on the back screen here behind us so our viewers can kind of follow along with that too. That's interesting. We got like a double image going on here. There we go. All right, so Washington Initiative 1639, changes to gun ownership and purchase requirements measure. This says a yes vote supports the ballot initiative to implement restrictions on the purchase and ownership of firearms, including raising the minimum age to purchase a gun to 21, background checks, waiting periods, and storage requirements. There's a number of, to me, some issues in that whole line. But when I even look at storage requirements, some of the language in this bill is a little troubling.
Yes.
It says a no vote opposes the ballot initiative. First of all, where do you stand on I-1639, and why have you chosen that position?
I'm a strong no on this one for several reasons. One, it's put together in an unconstitutional way. State initiatives are designed to be single issue things, like should we have 2% milk in stores? That's a single issue, right? This is about the age to buy a gun. This is about your medical history and your ability to have privacy in your medical history. This is about locking your gun up and being liable should someone steal your firearm. So there's nothing in this initiative that is good that I can see and that actually makes community safer, which is the point. If we want to talk about making safer communities, let's have that discussion. But these initiatives aren't going to do it. I see no way that this guarantees safer schools. As a teacher, I can say I see no way how my classroom is better off or safer because of an initiative like this. I see it as inhibiting the rights of our 18-year-olds to buy guns. Like they're not fully citizens or something like that, that we can send them to war. We could send them to war and fight with actual weapons on behalf of us here for our interests. And then if they came back to Washington State, we'd say, sorry, you punk kid, you're not mature enough to defend yourself. That's insulting to the mind. I can't even fathom that. And so that's outrageous. I know what this is. This is a form of trying to. This is an anti-Second Amendment initiative, which is done through incrementalism. The left in this country and in this state knows that they can't abolish the Second Amendment. They know it. And so what they do is every 2 years, we incrementalize. Just let's change a little word here. Let's change a definition here. Let's raise the age a couple years here. It'll be 25 to buy a gun next time, and then 30 after that. And then you'll have to have your gun locked and then double locked. And so I know what they're up to. I know this is what it's all about. It's not about safer communities. It's about taking away the guns of people, and they'll deny that. They'll say, no. This is not about. No. We're for the Second Amendment, but we are for safer communities, and then they'll leave it there. And then you're the bad guy because if you don't agree with them, then it's like, and this person here is not for safer communities because they don't want this initiative. But as a scientist, there's nothing in it. There's no data not a shred of data that says our communities will be safer because of this initiative passing. So I'm strongly opposed.
You know, what's interesting about that, to that point, is that I look at countries around the world that have different gun laws than we do here. And if we look at the country just directly south of us, Mexico, there are 6 times or 1/6 of the gun ownership in the country of Mexico than there is here in the United States, but a 5 times greater probability of you being a victim of a gun crime there than here.
Yeah.
And when you look at all of that, you go, wow, if reducing the number of people that own guns actually help to reduce crime, well, then that statistic is not supported anywhere you want to look around the world.
Yeah. And the thing is that to be fair to the other side, they bring up countries, they'll say, well, in Japan, there's no gun violence and they're not allowed to have guns there and things. That's true. But when you're comparing countries, you're comparing oranges and apples because it's not just gun issues that are different there. They have completely different justice systems. They have different cultures. And so oftentimes it's very difficult to compare the United States and we have a very unique culture to other countries around. You might compare countries maybe within Europe to each other, like Switzerland. I think they own more guns per capita than Americans do, or something like that. They are a gun-toting people. They have to serve in the military, I believe, and they own their own guns. It's not like the guns they take them home. They belong to them, and so people are on buses with guns and everything, and they have almost no gun violence, almost none.
Well, it's interesting if you say. You're right in that it's kind of an apples to oranges comparison. But if you take just the United States, so let's look at a little demographic within the U.S.
One, yeah.
And so we take the U.S. alone and we go, okay, so we have urban areas, we have suburban areas and we have rural areas. And when we look at, the millions of guns that are owned in the United States, most of the guns are owned by people in rural areas in which the gun crime rates are almost non-existent.
Yes.
And a small fraction of the guns, it's like 18% of gun ownership in the United States are guns owned in urban areas, of which that accounts for almost all of the gun crimes. So it's so just within the United States, comparing the U.S. to the U.S., just our rural, suburban, and urban areas, most of the crime happening in the urban areas where gun ownership is the lowest by far.
And that's a much more fair way to look at it, is within the United States, because we all are under the same justice system and we have the same culture, more or less. And so, yes, you can see states that decide to crack down on guns and no one can own a gun. You own an assault shotgun. I'm going to take that away. Like, they changed the names of guns just to get them away. Like, I have an assault rifle now. It's like, you mean a 22 gun, like for shooting like rats on the farm?
Right.
You're like, yes, that is an assault weapon, a high powered, huge magazine killing machine. It's like, so they changed definitions. You wouldn't be able to shoot paintballs out of a paintball gun if you let them mess with the dictionary.
I did know a farmer as a youngster growing up, though. He took the plastic end of the shotgun, let the BBs out of it, then he put rock salt inside of it, and he would use that to shoot varmints or critters or even trespassers that came on the property that needed. So that was a salt shotgun.
Yes, that was a salt.
And very effective, too.
I seen a guy who put dimes in it.
Yeah.
I don't know if he put them in there or they came that way, but the powder was in there and he put dimes in there, and then he shot wood, and then he went over with his camera and looked at the wood, and you could see the print of FDR's face in the wood because those dimes would hit with such velocity. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Initiative 1631. This is the taxes and environment. This is what's known as the carbon tax.
Not a tax, a fee. They call
Carbon
it a fee. Yes. Let's back to that dictionary again, where they can change definitions as they want. So there's a word that's called a fee, and a word that's called a tax, and they're
Put that one on the screen too, Kyle.
They say that they're different, but I'm waiting for someone to tell me how a fee is different from a tax. So when they do, feel free to call me, Facebook message me, email me, let me know what the difference between a fee and a tax is. I'd like to know. But anyway, they call it a fee. And so it's silly. I want to take care of the environment. I keep my yard clean. When I see garbage, I pick it up. When I see garbage on the side of the road, I pick it up. When I see garbage on the floor in my classroom, I pick it up. And so I take care of mine. And I do my part to take care of my community as well. Everyone wants clean air and water. I don't know anyone on any party who's like, we need to find a way to pollute more. Nobody is for that. But what are the solutions for the pollution problems that we do have? This is made to be a world-saving initiative. That there's so much carbon dioxide in the air, which, my bachelor's degree is in evolutionary ecology, so I've taken several classes. I know all about climate change and weather patterns and things like that. And they're saying, well, there's so much carbon dioxide in the air that if we get any more, we're going to have problems in our environment and with our climate. So to stop it, if you want to burn gasoline or fuel, it's going to cost you. You're going to have to pay. And here's the thing that the government thinks is, well, what we'll tell everybody is because we're putting this tax, people will be incentivized not to use as much. And for that, they'll burn less. Less carbon will be a cleaner environment and a cleaner future. We'll save the world. Here in Washington State, we're going to save the world and bring down the world's carbon dioxide levels because of this. No evidence that that's true, but here's what is absolutely true. They're going to get wealthy. They're going to be rich. Could be 30 cents a gallon. Think about that. 30 cents a gallon that they could have it on. And it doesn't stand. It goes up. It goes up every year. It will go up higher and higher. It's supposed to cap out at like 2050. That's another thing I love about politicians is when they put dates after they'll be dead. They put date. We'll balance the budget by 2078, and it's like you won't even. Good one, good joke. So that's another thing. But anyway, they're going to tax us on our fuel that we burn, and poor people, middle class people, upper class. It doesn't matter what class you're in. It doesn't matter where you live. Everyone's using fuel. So it's going to cost everybody. And the money they take, do you think it's going to go to clean up rivers?
That was the question I had. How does it actually have a net benefit to the environment?
It doesn't, which is the most laughable part of it all. When you ask the governor, ask good old Jay Inslee, Smarty Pants Jay, hey, where's this money going? Is it going to clean up the forest? Because if it was, then we can talk. We'll talk. Doesn't mean I'm on board. We'll talk. But when he says, oh, no, the money's going to my friends in Seattle, bureaucrats. It's going to my bureaucrat friends. That's where it's going. Right into the general fund to go into all the other little slush fund, little things he's got going on. And you're like, so it's not going to the environment at all. It's not going to clean up rivers. It's not going to clean up lakes. It's not picking up trash. It's not cleaning up the forest. Nothing? No, there's no mandate. You can read it. There's nowhere where it says that the money has to go to that. It goes right to his friends. And he, on the promise that this is going to incentivize people to burn less fuel, save the world. It's laughable. This might be the worst of them. Maybe. No, I take it. It's second worst. But they're both 39 and 31 are both awful.
Are there any initiatives on the ballot that you like?
1634 is not bad. It's not bad. It's that's the one I've read least on. But as far as I understand, it makes it so that cities, counties, municipalities cannot tax groceries. So we know that groceries don't get taxed in Washington State, and that there are some that say, no, we should tax groceries. In fact, I want to tax your soda. I want to tax. So there are communities, I'll just say it, Seattle, that want to tax foods that they don't like. Maybe if it's GMO or meats or whatever it is that they want to tax, they want to start taxing your grocery items. And so this makes it statewide that no smaller municipality, county, city can put any of those taxes in place. You know what they did in New York? Do you remember where they said you can't buy sodas over a certain amount? Or they started taxing them, I think it was. They started a sugar tax or a salt tax. They started taxing anything that they thought caused high blood pressure or diabetes and to control people's behavior. And that stuff is just, I don't see it. I see it as more of it's nice that we're trying to make people healthy, but it's not working. I see no evidence that people in New York are better off because of these crazy laws. And I think that's what this is trying to stop, is for these cities trying to save our lives through taxing certain grocery items. And so I'm for it, because this one is to prohibit cities from doing that. So I'm a yes on 1634.
So you've had an opportunity to go out, knock on doors, talk to people in the communities that you've had a chance to visit. Are there issues that people have brought to your attention that are concerns for voters, citizens of these of the 19th district that you'd like to share with others here?
There's a couple things. One is about the job situation that's going on, particularly around Cowlitz County with the Millennium
bulk
terminals and the methanol plant. So a few of these things that could bring jobs, could bring lasting jobs, could be a benefit to this community, and yet the red tape, the bureaucratic red tape that's put out and just holds us back and holds us back and holds us back. And people want to know, where are the jobs? And government people are always promising, I'm going to create jobs. And I know that what they mean they'd like jobs to be created while they're in office. Politicians don't hire anybody. They don't create jobs themselves. Private sector people make jobs. They're the ones who have wealth and take a risk on an employee to produce a good or a service, and that benefits the community. And they're the ones who create wealth and actually take that risk. And so jobs are created in the private sector, and people want to know, where are these jobs? And they're looking at the methanol plant and the bulk terminal Millennium and saying, what is going on? And I can see that it's just these rules and regulations of the bureaucracy that we have in Olympia and Seattle that are just taking the will out of people. So when I knock doors, people are I have to talk to them and say, no, there's hope. We can actually turn this around, but it requires us getting active and getting involved and talking to our representative and letting your voice be heard. We can't let them get away with this. If we just fall down and say, oh, we can't do anything, all right, we give up, we're not going to make any plans, then we're doomed. Our communities are doomed if we're just going to roll over and die like that. And so we have to fight. not physically fight. We just have to show that this is something we want, and that we're gonna vote on it. We're gonna show up. We're gonna let our voices be heard. And so people are frustrated by that. Also with things like the oyster farmers over west, they can't spray the pesticide to save their harvest. There were this murrelets and the marbled murrelets and the spotted owl are taking all the tree space and everything. And so, and the fish, I've been hearing people just howling about the fish and that's a mix between a state and federal issue that we have to work together to fix. That's not specifically Olympia, but we can at least be a part of the solution. And so these are some of the things I've been hearing people talk about. But one thing that's got me interested is the people I've talked to have said that they've voted Democrat their whole life. As you know, I'm running as a Republican. And so people have said in this community, I voted for Obama. My dad voted for Kennedy. My grandpa voted for FDR. It's been a family tradition. We're a blue-collar working place. I'm done with the Democrat Party. Years and years of them promising things and us faithfully voting. And what do we have to show for it? And so as I've been talking to people, so many, of Democrats, independents, and Republicans who aren't really active in voting, once I've talked to them and let them know how I feel about these things and what I promise to do, that I'm gonna be a workhorse for them here in the 19th, they've said, I'm gonna vote for you. And so I hope there's enough time between now and Election Day to be able to get to talk to enough people and let them know what I'm about and what I'm for. But I know, because knocking doors is slow work, talking to people one by one. But as I talk to people, it gives me energy to keep going, because people say, I'm voting for you, don't stop. There's my neighbor, he's going to want to talk to you. And I know the guy 2 houses down, talk to him, put a sign in my yard. And so great things are happening. It's just, do I have enough time to be able to make the difference that I really want to? That's the issue at hand for me.
So take the last couple of minutes here of the broadcast, Joel, and pitch to our viewers why they ought to consider Joel McEntire for 19th District.
All right, so not to repeat myself from what I said earlier too much, but I'm Joel McEntire. I am a teacher. I'm a United States Marine. I'm a husband, a father, a citizen who cares about this community. I'm tired of seeing what ideas come out of Seattle, because they benefit Seattle so often. The politicians that we've had in office in this community have long kissed the ring of the hand of Seattle and done their bidding. It's benefited Seattle and not us, and I'm done with that. I am going to speak up for the 19th District. This is my home. This is where I'm raising my family. And I want this to be a community that is strong and has a bright future. I want this to be the envy of Washington State. And so I want the 19th District and our issues to be top of the line for me, top issue. Not what Seattle wants, not what other districts want. I want our community to be successful and thrive. And so I'm going to be fighting to get elected to make that happen. So on Election Day in November, I hope you will consider my name for a vote. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thanks, Joel, for joining us here this evening. Kyle just put up the website so you can go learn more about Joel McEntire. JoelMcEntire.org, and that's JoelMcentire. Go ahead and put that also in the